Hey there, Virgo. Welcome to your reading for the week of May 19th. This week, you have this Inner Goddess card. It says, express your divine feminine energy, and loving wisdom will transform your life. You have this Enchanted Illusion card. It says, see through the veil of illusion and have the courage to see things as they really are. So, let's see here. A bunch of people have had the Tower again, so wouldn't surprise me if there was like some sort of global Tower moment. Although, what I would say, Virgo, is this right here is making a move. The Tower in the Chariot can just represent like moving, and the Six of Swords would also be kind of like making a move. So, wouldn't surprise me if some of you are either moving, thinking about moving, or you are doing something to move away from something. All that kind of makes sense based off of the astrology that we're all dealing with at this time. And, it just makes sense. The other thing about the Tower to the Chariot is that on the Chariot, he is leaving the city behind him behind. He's kind of like going in a new direction. He's just making a change in his life or moving towards bigger and better things in his life. So, again, I'm not convinced that the Tower is necessarily bad in your reading. Even at that, with the Chariot, this could say that you are kind of creating a Tower moment for someone else. Because, again, he is, on the Chariot, he is leaving behind familiarity and what is familiar to him. And, that he is kind of like leaving his tribe in a lot of ways, Virgo. He is going in a direction that he isn't really sure of, or he doesn't really know where he's going necessarily, but he knows he has to kind of make a change. So a lot of you could be kind of like making a change at this time with the Tower. Like I said, almost everyone's had the Tower already this week, so, I'm sure there's going to be some sort of global Tower moment happening. Who knows? Next, you have the Chariot. The Chariot could represent a victory, and the reading does look good. Again, the only real challenging card you have here is the Tower. All the rest of the cards are very positive, so the Chariot could be some sort of big win or some sort of victory. I kind of do feel like there is a victory in your finances. You have the Nine of Pentacles right next to it, and the Nine of Pentacles is like getting paid for your skills or getting paid for what you are good at, and that's definitely popping into my head here with the Chariot. Sorry, I bumped this camera earlier and I just can't get it in the right spot. But the Chariot, it could be a victory in your finances because you are, using your skills appropriately. The other thing about the Chariot is that this guy, he kind of looks like the Magician, and, he even has a wand. And sometimes I think about that with the Chariot. I don't know where I'm going with this, Virgo, but it popped into my head as important. It's almost like, I get this feeling that there is something that you are almost like chasing, but not like, I don't mean that in a bad way. I don't mean like you're chasing and, something is running away from you necessarily, but it's like you have a goal. You have something that you are trying to accomplish this week, and it feels very, like, much stronger to me this week than maybe past weeks. So, if you have your eye on something that you're trying to accomplish, I do feel like there really could be a win in whatever that is. You have the Six of Swords. Six of Swords is, moving on to calmer shores. It is a card of kind of moving away from your old life and moving towards your new life. Again, yesterday, I'm doing this video on May 13th, and on the 12th, we had that full moon in Scorpio. And again, we will be dealing with that energy for about 5 days after, so until like the 17th. But, again, changes don't happen overnight. So, you could be walking away from something since the 12th, or there could have been some sort of change on the 12th, and now you're kind of like just moving forward with that change with the Six of Swords. And that is definitely popping into my head with this card. I kind of get like a little bit of let me put it this way as well here, Virgo. If you are creating a Tower moment for other people in your life, I think that it probably is because of the Six of Swords. The Six of Swords is, pretty much a good card, but, the Six of Swords can represent being stuck in the mud, where it's like, it's not bad, but you're not moving forwards, you're not moving backwards, you feel a little bit stuck in the mud. And so some of you could be creating a little bit of a shakeup, maybe not for yourself. This could just be for other people with the Tower and the Chariot. And, especially if you have been stuck in the mud, it's like sometimes when we are stuck, we get those crazy ideas that get us unstuck, and, maybe that's what you need. With the Tower, you have the Eight of Pentacles here, which this could be rebuilding, because the Tower always gets reduced down to its foundation, and then we're supposed to build it back stronger. And the Eight of Pentacles is straightforward, diligent work, putting the work in to make something happen or to grow something. And he's focused as well. He's only working on one thing. He's not working on like 900 things at once, right? So I think that some of you could even be rebuilding a tower. It's like you're rebuilding like a new establishment in your life. And, again, money looks pretty good in this reading. So I like to see that. With the Chariot, you have the Devil. Like I said, other people. A lot of people have really been getting this recently. Maybe it is the full moon, but I think there's more to it than that. I think that, especially with that full moon, plus we have Mars and Leo. Mars and Leo can be an inflamed ego. It can be like road rage. It can be like crazy people kind of being inflamed and going nuts and all that other stuff, right? But even if it isn't, people can really act out or lash out. And so I think that maybe a lot of you have seen people that you realize are toxic. It's kind of like, how they say when people get drunk, they show their true colors, like how a person is when they're drunk is how they really are inside, but they just let it out. That's kind of the feeling I get from this reading, where it's like maybe some of you over the past few weeks have really been seeing, how people really are in your life. And again, you could be causing tower moments, just moving, this in general could say that you're just moving away from those types of people. And that's kind of what I get here. Yep, with the Six of Swords, you have the Five of Swords, walking away with your head held high, right? The guy at the front of the card, has his head held high. He is choosing to walk away from battle or from these two people. So definitely some sort of like separation or, kind of like walking away from something that could be toxic, or a person who is toxic. Could even be a situation like if you have a job and let's say that it's toxic, you could be choosing to make a change. Next, in the area of what's coming in for you, you have this card. It says, the forces of nature favor you. You have this water card. It says, emotions are at their peak. Yes, exactly like I said. I think that Mars and Leo energy, could be like inflamed emotions with people around you. I would definitely keep an eye on your own emotions, although I don't know, I feel like you're fine because you have the Nine of Pentacles here, which we'll talk about in a second, but I think you are perfectly fine. You have the King of Cups, the Nine of Pentacles in the Strength card. King of Cups is probably the strongest emotion card in the tarot. He has explored his emotions to a very deep level, and now he is expressing those emotions. Although he's sitting in these choppy waters, and he is perfectly fine. So he's not having a reaction to anything that's going on around him because he has explored his emotions. Now, the thing with the King of Cups, especially with a card like this that says emotions are at their peak, before I start stuttering, let's start here. You have this whale or this fish, and I like to say that this right here is a whale because really what it represents is the fact that eventually you have to come up for air. You can't just drown in your emotions, right? And with all this emotional energy in the Tower, I would definitely say that, I would be careful of just being, drowning in emotions with the King of Cups. Although, like I said, the King of Cups is good. He's sitting in the choppy waters and he's perfectly fine. So, a lot of you, this could say that you do have good emotional control at this time. You have the Nine of Pentacles. Nine of Pentacles is like your inner goddess, like your very first card that says, express your divine feminine energy and loving wisdom will transform your life. So you have to express that creative source or that creative side of your energy. The thing about the Devil is sometimes they say that these two people that are in front of him have these animal horns on their heads. And those animal horns represent our baser instincts, and so it kind of represents trapped root chakra energy. Sometimes we have to take that energy, bring it up to our heads, and express it into the world. The Nine of Pentacles is pre-Empress energy, creation. So I definitely feel it would be a good time for you to use your creative energy or to be more creative. Also, there's something here about you making money, just in general. I think that, really, I really don't have anything else to say because I feel that really that you could be doing things that are going to help you make money, or you could be increasing your finances with your skills, like I said earlier. You have the strength card. Yeah, I feel like you're going to have to be strong this week. It's not like a bad week. Like I said, you only have like one challenging card, the Tower. But I do feel that you being strong, this could be a good thing. Whenever I get a reading like this, I would love to see like the sun or the star come up in this reading, because it's kind of like saying to me that you could be a pillar of strength this week. And you have the Three of Pentacles, which is about getting recognition. So if there is any weirdness going on in work or business or your life or whatever, like being strong could be the thing that gets you attention or, makes you stand out or makes you look like a leader or something like that. So that's kind of the feeling I get off of the strength card, is that you really have the opportunity to stand out in a big way, or, to have people see you as a person who has answers, which could be very good. With the King of Cups, you have the Moon card. You have more emotions. The thing about the Moon is that the Moon can represent us. Well, number one, it represents us needing to be more vulnerable. We have this lobster right here, and the lobster wears its armor. And if you've ever seen a lobster on land, they can't move around very well. So the Moon says we have to approach things with vulnerability, and we have to put our emotional armor down. The other thing is that I really don't think this reading is saying that you have to be vulnerable this week. I feel it's more saying that you need to be like just stable, like not absorbing other people's emotions and things like that. And I feel if you do that, things will go well. This also says that if people in your life are being emotional, that there are things that you don't see. The Moon is fears, fantasies, illusions, but with the Moon, we can make a bigger deal out of things than they are. We can make too small of a deal out of things, and not take them seriously enough. It kind of goes both ways. But, I think the trick with this reading is for you to just be in the middle, right? Be neutral. With the Nine of Pentacles, you have the Five of Wands. Some of you could be kind of standing out above the competition. It really wouldn't surprise me, Virgo. I'm cheating a little bit because of the astrology, but since we had Neptune and Pisces, your opposite sign, it really wouldn't surprise me if a lot of you were coming up with ways of being very different in work or business or career that makes you stand out above the competition. That Neptune in Pisces energy, even though it's in Aries right now, it doesn't really matter. I think you learned a lot with it in Pisces, and, maybe in your career or in business or whatever you do, maybe you went through a couple different, versions of yourself. And now I feel like you are kind of creating this version of yourself that really stands out. And obviously that would be a good thing. With the Strength card, you have the King of Wands. Yeah, King of Wands is being leader, just like I said on that Strength card. King of Wands is about being bold, being confident, being assertive, really going for what you want. Yeah, it's almost like you're like a pillar this week of strength. And, this could be really good, Virgo. It's like you standing out as a pillar of strength could lead to opportunities or who knows what, right? It could just attract the right people to you or something like that. Next, in the area of messages from your future self, you have this Now is a Lucky Time card and this Buffalo Spirits that says the abundant universe will provide. So two really good cards. Definitely could be a lot of abundance coming in for you. It is a lucky time. I say this all the time now. I do think there is luck, but it's like the type of luck where we have to take more chances. Is it really luck? I don't know, right? Whatever. But I just think people who take more chances right now are going to be more successful. You also have the Wheel of Fortune. And, rabbits multiply very quickly. And we are kind of in a time of multiplication where if you're trying to be successful, just, duplicate your successes. And if you do that, then you will multiply your success. You have the Three of Pentacles, the Hangman, and the Death card. Three of Pentacles says teamwork makes the dream work, right? So anything you could do working on a team would be good. I also kind of feel like your work is standing out. It's almost like I'm getting that your work is kind of speaking for itself. He's putting his work on display, and these people are giving him credit or, looking at the work that he has done. And it's also a card of quality work as well. So whatever work you're doing, you could be getting a lot of attention or really standing out with this energy. I also, there's one thing that I want to say with the Five of Wands is that the Three of Pentacles sometimes I think is like a comparing energy where it's like she is comparing his work to maybe like his work. And so what I would say here is like I do feel a need for you to like not compare yourself to other people. So if you are dealing with, conflict or competition in work or business, I feel like you need to realize that, the work you do stands on its own. And, really that's all that matters. You have the Hangman. The Hangman can, of course, represent being in Hangman mode or feeling stuck. Remember, we said on the Six of Swords that I was getting a little bit of that stuck in the mud type of energy. And maybe you have been stuck in the mud for a long time, Virgo, but the Hangman, his head is glowing. So he has gained enlightenment. And I kind of do feel it's like time for you to move forward, or you are with the Hangman. I feel like you are starting to make a move with the Hangman. The other thing that I'm getting on the Hangman is that, the Hangman in reverse, it looks like he's dancing on the card, right? But sometimes in reverse, we would normally say that like the Hangman is moving forward and he's starting his journey again or whatever. But sometimes I feel Hangman in reverse is really saying like don't put on a show for anything. It's like, again, I keep feeling like I need to say your work stands on its own with that Three of Pentacles. It's like sometimes I think we do work and then we think we need to keep adding more and more to it to get it to get attention. But there's something about that here where it's like saying, don't try to like show off too much, right? Really, the Three of Pentacles, he is showing off a little bit. This is a fire triangle. This is a water triangle. That water triangle says he added just a little bit extra to the project to make it special. The water triangle is his dream. It's kind of like he added a little part of his imagination to the project, right? But again, with the Hangman, I feel it's saying it would be okay if you're working on a project or a business or whatever to go like a little bit above and beyond, but don't do this right here. Don't dance for people on a pole, right, Virgo? Make sure that you're not going too crazy. Next, you have the Death card. The Death card can, of course, represent a transformation. Again, a lot of death energy this week. Again, we're after, this week starts after the full moon in Scorpio. So a lot of people probably are going through transformations or transitions. And, it's just pretty much what we all deal with at this time. So I feel like there's some sort of change coming in for you here. With the Three of Pentacles, you have the Death card. What do you know? Change in your work here, especially with like all this stuff, Tower, Chariot, Five of Wands. A lot of these cards would be like reinventing your work, rebuilding your work, kind of building your work on a solid foundation. So there definitely could be a big work change. With the Hangman, you have the Hierophant. In a lot of ways, this would say just do the work. Sometimes I do think that if we over deliver like too much on a project, that if we're doing a project for like a client or for our company or whatever, if we over deliver too much, it's almost like we are saying that the original work wasn't good enough. So maybe if you work with clients, if you over deliver too much, they might be worried that what you did wasn't good enough, like in what they wanted, right? And so that's kind of like what I would be careful of with the Hierophant, is I would be careful of over delivering. I'm getting the same thing popping into my head about like if you are trying to get a job. It's funny, I'll tell you, I years ago I had a kid who wanted to edit for me, right? And I was actually looking for someone to edit at the time, but like in the interview with him, he was a great kid. I'm not hating on him or anything like that, but during the interview, he just told me about all these other things that he can also do. But it ended up just kind of like making me overthink the whole hiring him in the first place, and I didn't hire him, right? Because it's like he was just talking about everything but editing. And I don't know, if you have like an interview coming up here, Virgo, or something, it's like just stick to the facts is what I feel like this is saying. Like just give them what they want, exactly what they want. And the Hierophant is a very inside the box kind of card, which is normally kind of a problem with the Hierophant, but in this situation, I definitely feel this is saying like, stick to the facts. With the Death card, you have the King of Swords. King of Swords is like knowledge and wisdom. This could be your knowledge and wisdom is undergoing a change. Even on the Death card, we have this Pope-looking guy, just like the Hierophant right here. And he kind of represents the beliefs that we all hold on to that might need to change with the Death card. King of Swords is a card of knowledge and wisdom, but, sometimes his beliefs need to change as well. So there, could be some beliefs changing in your life. Next, in the area of the good stuff, you have this Courage card and this Take the Lead card. Oh, what do you know? I didn't even see that. So you have this take the lead card, and we were talking about you kind of being a pillar, standing out, taking the lead, and maybe you have to have the courage to say, like, you know what, I do know all the answers. I am the person that knows how to handle things, or, you know, I am the best at this potential job that I could potentially get. You know, it's like, I think if you stick to the facts, but also act like a leader, you know, especially if you have like an interview, that things will go very well, Virgo. So love it. You have the Ace of Cups, the Knight of Pentacles, and then you have two cards. You have the Five of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune. The Ace of Cups is your emotions overflowing, being very happy. So there could be a lot of happiness coming in for you. I wouldn't really call this a love reading. I think that it's really all about you, and it's all about you kind of like taking control of your emotions, you know, being emotionally stable, breathing as well with that King of Cups, like coming up for air. And the Ace of Cups would say you're getting into the flow, which is great. And it's also a very positive emotional card. You know, the emotions are overflowing from this cup. So there could be a lot more happiness coming in for you. You have the Knight of Pentacles. Knight of Pentacles is about progress in the good stuff. So I do like this in the good stuff, because I feel like it's saying you're probably making progress towards whatever you're building or whatever you're working on in your life. And yeah, I feel like there will be growth. Next, you have the Five of Swords. Sorry, I dropped it. The Five of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune. This would kind of say that walking away from something is going to be the thing that changes your fortunes. What's really weird is that a couple of people have had messages like that this week. And, you know, it kind of makes sense with this full moon. The full moon has really asked us to admit to our own inner truth, which actually, now that I think about it, you get readings like that a lot, Virgo, about your inner truth, right? So the full moon in Scorpio that we just had yesterday, or, well, 2 days ago, if you're watching this on the 14th or whatever, the 14th, you know, that full moon really asks us to like admit the truth about things that we want to do, that we don't want to do, wants us to move towards our truth, and doing that could be the thing that changes your fortunes with that Wheel of Fortune. With the Ace of Cups, you have the Six of Wands. The whole entire reading is about you taking the lead. I mean, Six of Wands is a card of victory, a success, you know, having a big win in life. You know, he is being victorious, but he is also kind of the leader. You know, he is sitting on this high horse, and he's getting the recognition from all these people around him. So I think a lot of you need to like prepare for recognition. You know, it's like you need to prepare to receive recognition, or something like that is popping into my head. So that could be really good for work. With the Knight of Pentacles, you have the Eight of Swords. I actually really like this because we had that stuck in the mud type of feeling on that Six of Swords. Knight of Pentacles is normally no movement. He's the only knight in the tarot whose horse isn't moving. But the Eight of Swords and the good stuff would also say that you're finally making a move. With the Five of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune, love it. You have the Hermit, sorry. The Hermit is you. So whenever you show up as yourself, this puts you in a position of power and strength, and really allows you to get what you want from a reading. So I do feel a lot of you are kind of like taking the lead this week. I mean, this reading is all about you, Virgo, for sure. It's like, you know, saying that you are really taking the lead in life. And, you know, I think you need to prepare for recognition as well. You have this Rat card. It says someone working against you or behind your back. Five of Wands, Devil. You know, again, if you get a weird feeling with a person, you know, it's like I would avoid that person, or I would cut them out. Or if you know someone is working behind your back, I would definitely be careful of that energy. You have this chair empty. It says someone is leaving your life. Probably this person. Probably not a bad thing, right? This looks good to me if you're cutting out a person who's like toxic, or a person who causes like tower moments and things like that. This isn't going to cooperate today, whatever. You have this casket. You can't. I'm going to pull you 2 extra cards. It says the same thing. It says someone going out of your life or the end of a situation. It's like clearly the universe wants us to know that someone is leaving your life. You even have this card, which is also similar. It says someone is extremely stubborn and unwilling to change, right? So the whole reading, all those cards are basically the same. How crazy is that? It's like the universe really wants you to know that someone is undependable and insincere, right? You have this Sunrise card. It says new creative ideas, new ventures, a fresh start. Yes, I think Six of Swords, moving on to calmer shores, having a fresh start. So you definitely could be having a fresh start at this time. You have this dragon. It says, beware of self-delusion. I think everybody needs to be very careful of this with that Three of Pentacles and the Hangman, right? Three of Pentacles and Hangman was saying to me, it's okay to over-deliver, but like don't over-deliver. I would maybe say don't over-promise as well. I think it would be much better for you if you are like, if you do client work or if you are doing, a certain, project and work or whatever. Like, I would just I think it would be so much better for you to just do a really good job at just that one thing that you do and not add a bunch of stuff to it, right? And I really get that feeling on this card. What's really funny is years ago I got some coaching from a YouTuber who does YouTube coaching, obviously, and he said to me that at the end of the interview, he was at the end of the coaching thing, he was like, "Do you have any other questions?" I was like, "No." And he was like, "Oh, okay." And so he told me at the end that what's really funny for him is that he like raised his prices a lot, right? For the coaching. And what he found is that the people who are willing to pay the higher price, they never had a question. If they got one thing from the coaching, they were happy, right? Which is what I said to him. I was like, oh, I was just hoping for like one tip, well, like one thing to do that I could work on that would make my channel grow, right? And, that's, I think, important for you, Virgo. It's like sometimes I think people, it's like if you do have clients or whatever, it's like you might be thinking, oh, if I charge more money, I have to do more or whatever. But it's like actually the opposite is true. People who are willing to pay a lot of money, usually they just have one problem that they want solved, right? And I feel like that's kind of what this is saying. It's like saying don't imagine a bunch of problems or issues that you have to solve with like extra work. You have this Knot card. It says unsuccessful plans. I don't know. I think you're moving past this with the Tower and the Eight of Pentacles. It's like, sure, maybe you had an unsuccessful plan, but you could be finding a solution. So pretty interesting, Virgo. Thank you for being here, and definitely enjoy your week.